Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Gavin Courtney.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, got a little bit of relief from that rain.
yeah, it's been dry this morning so far. Mosquitoes are out, I do have to say that much.
Oh yeah, definitely felt those.
Yeah, be sure you're wearing your repellent. Remember, dengue is still out there and it can get pretty bad. So the best thing to do is to clean up your area and try not get bite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't have any standing water at your house. Remove all those old containers, any buckets, anything in your yard. You know, having had dengue before, I could tell you don't want it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, I've never had it, so I'm extra careful. But that makes you more at risk, actually, for like the severe form of dengue, if you've had it before.
Yeah, I know. But that's why I take my precautions as well. Like, I have off with me everywhere that I go. And have several bottles at my house.
You know, it's funny because usually you only see mosquitoes around certain parts of the day, like morning and evening typically. But no, they've completely changed their pattern now. They get quite facey.
Yeah, I guess they're probably enjoying the sun now.
All right, of course, that's just a quick reminder from us. And a couple other things happening today. Today is World Mental Health Day. Very important day, very important conversation that we should be having within your homes and, of course, in the public sphere. So our show's going to be tailored for that. But we got a bit of housekeeping, of course. Gavin, did you catch KTV Latino?
Oh, yeah. The first live show was so awesome. I mean, like, you know, every time, you know, whether it's regular KTV or KTV Latino, just the talent, especially like early on in the competition when you get to see people who are like maybe a little bit nervous or, you know, learning to find their way around the stage. It's such a great time to like start. I haven't chosen my favorite yet. Have you?
I have a couple that I want to see move forward.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's interesting. I was saying that, you know, in terms of the things I liked about this particular season and the first show especially, I'm so accustomed to the first show. You see somebody so green and somebody so nervous, exactly like you're saying, and we did see that. But I also saw some who were already prepared to work the stage. You know, they clearly have to use more of the stage, maybe fine-tune the dance skills just a bit, but they were willing to try. And I think that's so promising for the rest of the season. I think we're going to see some really great entertainment on that stage.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching the season go on.
Yeah.
And, you know, seeing all that great talent.
Yeah, and you know, we had such a great mixture of music. We had all reggaeton, you had your rancheras, you had your old faithfuls, of course.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it had so much to offer, and I mean, I can't even wait to see what the show is going to bring, you know, for the coming weeks.
So we do want to remind everybody, the repeat actually takes place tonight at 8:30. There's another repeat on Sunday at 7 p.m., but the live show is going to be on Tuesday. And do remember, Monday's going to be a holiday, so you want to pick up your tickets early. Get them this week and go on out and enjoy the show. It's going to be at 8:30 at the Bliss. And tickets are $5 each. You can get them at Channel 5 here on Coney Drive, 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard, and Smart's office on Albert Street. I always say the live show is a great experience. If you can at least schedule one show that you're going to go out and see. And I'm sure if you go to one, you're going to want to go to more.
You can do one at least.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, the first time, I mean, you know, I always say it when we're on here that, you know, there's nothing like the live experience, because you not only get to watch the performers live, you get the excitement of the whole audience, because they have their own vibe too.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different experience than watching it like on your TV or on your laptop.
Yeah. All the back chatting from the audience
Yeah.
as well that takes place. Yeah, and for some reason, even the quality of the voice of the singers is completely different when you're there. Imagine when you get blown away on TV. Imagine what that's like in the audience. That's always the moment I look at. I'm like, oh, I wish I was there.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, but that was just a reminder for KTV Latino. Once again, one important reminder is that the selection of who moves forward and the selection of the winner of the show is completely in your hands.
Yeah, it's up to you. You have to remember to get out your phones and vote with those fingers.
Yep. And you can vote using Smart and BTL. So we have a ad that's running that you can check out to find out exactly how you can vote. I don't want to tell you because I may mix it up, but do look out for it, or go to KTV Latino's page and you can get all the details there. All right, but we got to get moving into our birthday shout out.
Yeah, so we are wishing a very, very happy birthday to Sharon Burgess. So Sharon, from all of us here on Open Your Eyes and here at Channel 5, very, very, very happy birthday to you.
All right. And of course, that greeting comes from all of us at Channel 5. Remember, though, if you'd like to get your family member featured in our birthday shout out, go ahead and send us a message on Facebook and email at oye@channel5belize.com, or drop by Channel 5 or call us and let us know. And your loved one may be featured on the show. But we're going to check in now with our weather, and we have Angelia Guy on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good, on you?
Not too bad. We were saying that we've gotten some reprieve from the rain.
Sorry?
We've gotten a break from the rain.
Yes.
All right, so what's happening today?
Okay, well, today we're expecting better conditions compared to the past couple of days. We're expecting skies to be sunny with a few cloudy spells, and then to become cloudy at times tonight.
Okay.
So during the day, we're expecting isolated showers or thunderstorms, except for a few more over inland areas this afternoon, and then over the south and some coastal areas tonight.
And what about our winds?
Okay, winds will blow from the east and northeast at 5 to 15 knots.
And the sea state?
Sea state will be light chop to choppy.
Okay, so with less rains, does that mean that we'll be having warmer temperatures today?
No, with the wind flow, we're expecting slightly cool temperatures today with 87 degrees Fahrenheit inland, 87 along the coast, 90 inland, and 82 in the hills.
And tonight?
Tonight, more on the warm side, 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 75 inland, and 70 in the hills.
Okay. And what about the extended forecast?
Okay, we're expecting similar weather conditions to continue tomorrow. And then we're expecting a few more showers around the country on Saturday.
All right. And looking out into the tropics, is there anything we need to be monitoring?
Okay, at this time, no.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that update.
You're welcome.
You have a great day today.
Thank you.
All right. There you go.
Yep. So, not going to be too hot today, so that's pretty good to hear.
I know, that's interesting when you say slightly cooler and it's 87 degrees.
Yeah.
That's still hot for me, but I get it. It's not 90s and it's not scorching, so we'll take it. All right, we got to get moving into our show for today.
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, Marlene, today is World Mental Health Day. So for our first segment, we are going to be talking to a whole host of representatives from our stakeholders, from people who work in mental health, to talk about World Mental Health Day.
That's right. And so we're going to have an extended conversation on that topic, but we're going to close off the show with some details about the upcoming Japan Day, and that's always an interesting event. So we're going to have the details of that in the final part of our show. We're going to go ahead now, though, and take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about mental health in Belize, so stay tuned.
over
welcome back to Open Your Eyes. If you're joining us now, we are going to be talking about World Mental Health Day. And joining us for this discussion now is Miss Elizabeth Ross, who is from the Caregiver Support Group. We have Joyce Ellis, who is a administrator from the Welcome Resource Center, and also Ms. Barbara Guzman, also from the Caregiver Support Group. Good morning, ladies, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, this year's theme for World Mental Health Day is working together to prevent suicide. I suppose we can start our discussion talking about the theme and, what it is, why this is the focus of this year's World Mental Health Day. Yeah. Anyone can start.
The theme has been used last year because suicide is just so prevalent across the world. We're using it this year and we will use it next year also. That's how important it is to mental health, suicide. Along with that, we have a speech competition, and that's for young people who will be presenting on bullying and also sexual orientations and other topics. That's just a few. Besides the young people, it's not to say that young people are the ones committing suicide, it's in general, but we want to focus on young people for now, but we also have programs for elderly people and seniors.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of our focus this morning. I think when we think of mental health, we talk of some of the more prevalent ones. We talk of depression, we talk of anxiety, and we talk of how it specifically affects young people. But today, especially the group that's here this morning, we're looking at the elderly population and we're looking at some of the issues there. Let me start off with the Caregiver Support Program and talk about, you are a newly formed group, why you got started and what your purpose is.
Okay, what happened, Marlene, it was a group of us saw the need to be facilitators or to provide support. In seeking out help for ourselves, I know personally I was seeking out help for myself with my loved one. I was speaking to our parish priest, and so he said, you know something? He said there are quite a number of people out there from our parish who have been speaking about this issue. And so maybe what we could do is get together as a group and form a support group. And so I said, that's a good idea. He said, okay, let's put something together. And so that was how our core group was formed. A group of us got together and started talking about it. What we really are facilitators to provide information, because we don't know. There are people out there, we need to pull the resources together to give information to our parishioners, and not only our parishioners, to whoever is interested at large. There are a lot of people out there who are caregivers, who have issues dealing with the whole caregiving, the whole matter of caregiving. And so when we come together, we thought that if we put the group together and we have people come in to talk about their feelings and what's happening and facilitate and provide the support group, then it would be better for everybody on a whole. So that is where we started.
And talk to us about the issue of Alzheimer's itself and just, I mean, what existed and...
Well, there's Alzheimer's, there is an Alzheimer's Association. But we're dealing with all dementia. And which includes Alzheimer's. So we're full broad dementia. And there's many different kinds of dementia that affect in different ways. So there is the Alzheimer's Association, which is a small group, but there was really no support group for the caregivers that would allow them a safe haven, that would provide education, but primarily offer a safe haven and a place to come and discuss your feelings and open up. And the suicide rate amongst caregivers is not as high as a lot of other areas, but it is high. And because of the depression, because it's called caregiver's depression, you know, it can result in other things. But it's having a safe haven and having a place to come to allow people to express their feelings and share stories and things, I think is going to be very beneficial.
When it comes to dementia, there is a lot of focus on taking care of the caretaker, the person who is administering the care. Can you explain to us why that is so necessary? What are the unique challenges that a caretaker experiences?
There are a lot of times you don't take care of yourself. And so it is important for caregivers to be aware that while you want to give your loved one the optimal care, you need also to take care of yourself. And if you're not in a good position, you're not able to give the love and the care that your loved one needs. And so the first person to take care of is yourself, so that you can be in a good position to take care of your loved one. And that includes taking time for yourself. It means doing things that you still love to do. It means being open with your other family members to tell them that, you know what, I can't do this alone. We have to do this together. You need to be a partner with me. Or calling on friends, calling and using a support group. Finding someone whom you can talk to. Taking care of yourself does not necessarily mean just being selfish about it. You're not being selfish. You're looking after your own mental health and your physical health at the same time, so that you're able to provide care for your loved one.
But it's also really important that that's the last thing on a caregiver's thought. You know, they're dancing as fast as they can to take care of the person that they're taking care of. It's really, really easy to forget yourself. And I speak from experience. And, you know, I'll do this tomorrow, I'll do this tomorrow, I'll do this tomorrow. And one of the things that we're going to stress in this support group is that you have to mandate time to take care of yourself and not say, you know, well, tomorrow I'll do it, because it's very, very easy to put yourself at the very bottom, particularly if you've got kids and you've got other family members and things going on. So.
Yeah. And I'd imagine how it emotionally drains you as well, just the progression of dementia itself.
Well, one of the things that people that haven't been through the dementia experience that they don't realize is you lose your loved one twice. You lose them when they get into an advanced state of dementia, and then you lose them when they die. So you're going through grief constantly while they have dementia, and then the grief that you deal with after they pass away. So you lose them twice.
That can be, you know, particularly difficult considering, you know, from the caregiver's perspective that, you know, you were speaking about the progression of dementia. I mean, for a lot of people who have family members they're living in, so they experience this around the clock, you know, so having access to these sorts of resources seems particularly important, especially in light of the fact that, as we've discussed, people do tend to forget themselves. So this initiative is extremely important in these times.
And that's why it's so important to get help. Help is so important. And help does not necessarily mean that something is wrong with you. People have to accept that nothing is wrong with you to reach out for help, because you cannot do it alone. You are faced with your loved one not being the same person that you know. And that in itself, like Liz said, is something that is difficult to deal with. It's a challenge. You are used to, when you have someone in your life who was like maybe your champion or your hero, and that person is no longer there, you need to understand the disease to know that the person is not there because they don't want to be there. It's the disease, it's a sickness. And how to deal with that sickness is what is important, and that is where we come in. We provide the support and the information for people to know how to deal with it.
You know, I think part of the bigger issue here too is looking at the establishment of a support group for what is a group of people who are facing similar challenges. And I wanted to bring that over. We have Ms. Kathy who's joined us now. She is the past president and a representative of the Mental Health Association. And Ms. Kathy, we know that there are many people who struggle with many different forms of mental illness. and they just have nowhere to turn to and nowhere to, well, they feel that way.
Yeah.
Talk to me about even just having things like support groups for caregivers, maybe a need to establish the same with people who are battling anxiety or depression or bullying or, go ahead.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Apologize, I got my times mixed up.
Yeah.
Because I must be going into the early stages. Yeah, I think there are actually sources of help.
Yeah.
One of the problems is that because of stigma and discrimination, sometimes people don't know where to turn or feel embarrassed to turn to the sources. So, for instance, there are, in most districts, there are support groups for people with diagnosed mental health issues. They're called consumer groups. And so these are people who get together and meet and discuss and have fun together, not dementia, but other forms of mental illness. But a lot of people either don't know about it or their families don't want them to reach out because it's a family secret. And of course everybody knows already, so I don't know what secret people are keeping. So one of the things we try and do, the Mental Health Association is only an advocacy group. In other words, we don't provide treatment, but we do try to guide people to what help is available.
Yeah.
And so, and the other thing we try very hard to work on is to reduce stigma and discrimination.
And that brings up something important because in terms of guiding people towards the appropriate resources, because you had spoken earlier about people who had diagnosed disorders, when it's the case that a lot of people are living with things that are undiagnosed.
Absolutely.
And just trying to live day to day as best they can, not knowing that there's access there that they can improve their quality of life.
Well, that's exactly, and that's where advocacy comes in, because if you don't talk about a problem, you can't begin to deal with it. And at this point, there's still a lot of people who don't feel comfortable talking about the problem. More people are doing so, and we really applaud them. For instance, the theme for World Mental Health Day this year is suicide prevention. And the Michael Young family has graciously agreed to be our patrons for the annual banquet. And we decided not to have them speak on it, but to do a video of them speaking, because it's very hard to get up and maybe you get choked up. But our focus for this time is, let's focus a little on the survivors, because for every suicide and every suicide attempt, there are maybe 10, 15 survivors who have to deal with the very complex feelings, loss, grief, anger, regret, all of these feelings. So they have very graciously and very bravely agreed to share their experiences. We have, this afternoon, we have the school speech competition, where we have students who give a speech, and it's always related to the theme. So since the theme this year is suicide prevention, they're going to talk about the triggers and the preventions in various aspects, bullying, sexual orientation, but it's geared to young people. And it's going to be live streamed, apparently. Digi has just agreed to it. So again, we're trying to get out the message. Last year, Miss Nalita Castillo was our patron, and she spoke very openly about her battles with anxiety and depression. And so we really applaud these people who are in the vanguard. who are willing to say, we're going to show a little video of Sahar Vasquez, who is a young person who has, again, been very open with her struggles, because we feel that young people obviously relate better to young people.
Yeah.
So I agree, a lot of people don't even know that they need help or that there is help. So yes, we have to educate and we have to advocate.
You know, it's so important that we hear stories of people who are living with mental illness. Because one, I think, as Gavin clearly pointed out, there's so many people who are undiagnosed, who are struggling, and they can have a much better quality of life if they're diagnosed, if maybe they have medication or go through therapy or learn
get
tools.
support.
Yeah.
Because with many, like anxiety and depression, sometimes, yes, medication helps bump you into a spot, but basically it's human connection that is going to help you. You might need medication because you're not in a position to be able, but in the long run, it has to be human connections, and that's one of the things that maybe our modern society, we've invented all kinds of other things, but I think when it comes to human connections, we're probably not doing that well.
Yeah. You know, if I think of the level of stigma that is associated with mental illness, we talk about it a lot more openly now, and we're more precise in our wordings to say what it is, what it isn't, that everyone has mental health, that everyone can have a mental health problem, and you know, that it is an illness in your mind. So, but yet we still see people who, once they have perhaps accepted or been diagnosed, still struggle within society in gaining employment, in perhaps social interactions. And we still have outsiders who look on and they don't know how to interact with someone with, if it's dementia, if it's someone who's schizophrenic, if it's someone who has anxiety, they don't know how to interact. And so the divide still exists. Coming from an advocacy group, and even in your experience, what do you think are some of the inroads that we have made and can continue to make to kind of break down that divide?
Well, talking helps.
Yeah.
Education helps. I can't see, and of course support groups, but support groups only work if people can reach out and become a member of them.
Yeah.
So we don't only need to educate the general public, but for instance, we need to educate employers. Just like there was a push to employ physically challenged people, we have to maybe help employers know how they can employ people with mental health diagnoses or issues. But do they need, just like if you're going to employ someone who's physically challenged, you might need to put in ramps and other things. Are there some mental ramps that you need to put in if you're going to be able to employ people with other kinds of challenges?
Listening to Ms. Cathy speak, what came to mind was a couple of weeks ago, I was in Chetumal, and what was fascinating was in some of the stores, you see that the elderly are the people who are bagging the groceries. There were no young people per se there. There were people, senior citizens who were doing all that work. And I said, man, I wish we could adopt this, because there are use for our elderly people. And they could be incorporated into our society and to give them something for them to feel worthwhile. No? But talking from a perspective of persons with dementia, I think inclusion and also, like Ms. Cathy said, education. Education is very, very, very key and important. Education for the society and population on a whole, And for persons, more so for the caregivers, people who have to live with it day to day to day, is a challenge, and it is difficult. It's not easy because you wake up and you have no choice. You are faced with it. You have to deal with it, and for you to deal with it, for you to be your best self, for your own self, and for the person, is to get help, to get the information, know what you're dealing with, and if you know what you're dealing with, then you're better able to provide the caregiving that you need to give.
Yeah. So I want to bring Joyce into the conversation because Joyce, you work with the Welcome Resource Center, which is one of the initiatives that came out through the Mental Health Association. And what you provide there is a very necessary service. I think people have become accustomed to know it as serving the homeless population, but it's also for people who are mentally ill.
Yeah. And also we have elderly there also.
Yeah.
And what we notice based on the elderly, if we give them things to do, it helps to keep them active. And we have at least like 30 that are over 65. So they're not regular, they don't come regular, but they come and they interact with each other. And they would be able to discuss what is going on with them and things like that. But in terms of support, the center provides social support for all the individual who comes to the center. And that interaction also, which is very much important than to have them at home sitting alone and things like that.
And in your experience, what do you think makes the biggest difference in terms of like improving the quality of lives of the people that you work with?
With my experience, having them doing things for themselves, like people don't do things for them. Like the only thing we do is serve the food. The other things they do for themselves, the one who need a little help, we will help them, and we wait until they ask for it. So we see a situation, we don't rush there to go and help them. We wait until they ask for the help, because sometimes it's a bit challenging to go from the hall to the restroom, but some of them try it on their own, and when they ask for the help, then we give it to them. So we're not there to assist them readily, because you see them in a crisis. We allow them to problem solve, figure it out, and they get it done. The ones who can't, then we do that little bit of assistance. When I say we, it includes participants also, because they also look out for each other.
Yeah. You know, I don't know what it is globally, but perhaps you can paint the picture as to what it is locally. The link between mental illness and homelessness.
Yeah, well, they're very, that's why we say it's the Welcome Center is a resource for the homeless, mentally ill, and we include substance abuse. And very often people are 1, 2, 3 of the above. And sometimes homelessness is not complete homelessness. They might have a room at the bottom of a family house. Or, you know, so it doesn't necessarily mean actually sleeping out on the street. But homelessness is, you might have a place to sleep, but you don't have a home. And so there's a mixed group. We also have some participants who actually do have a home, but their family encourages them to come, as Joyce says, because they interact with people and they have some kind of a quality of life that they wouldn't get. So there is a very strong, we also have, Joyce would know this, we have quite a few deportees who have been deported back to a country they left when they were 2 years old. They have no family here. And so those in some ways are kind of the easiest people to help, because many of them, after a little bit of stabilization, can then go on, get a job, and actually have a home. So homelessness has just so many meanings, and so many reasons behind it. Some of it is economic, but most of it is not purely economic. And that's why out of the over 400 people who are registered, 80% are men. Now, we don't mean we have 400 people coming every day, but they come and go as they want. Why? Because for whatever reason, and we try not to be judgmental and blame, we're just saying this is the situation. Many men have not formed strong family bonds, and whereas many women have been caretakers all their lives, so that when they need care, there's someone to take care of them. Many men really feel very alone because when they need care, they don't have those bonds there.
Wow.
And then we also talk a lot about, addressing, when we come to address that sort of situation, that, in terms of, society and culture, we often socialize men to sort of ignore their feelings, not speak about it, so that if and when they do experience mental health issues, they don't access or try to find help, reach out to people, just because there is that stigma.
Yeah, even with physical, women are much more likely to come into contact with the health system because of our biology. Whereas men often only come into contact when they chop their hand. It's only when they have a serious accident that they actually come into contact with the health. So it's mental and physical. So again, there's education that we need to widen the net. I think a lot of men as well, because they're assumed to be the breadwinner, if they can't win the bread, sometimes that is what causes them to abandon the family, because they're failing at what they see as their main task. So, as I say, we're not assigning blame, we're just saying this is the way it is.
And, I think when you think of men especially, they're also more vulnerable for suicide. And so I think with
not
completed suicide.
Completed. And that's partly, again, because of the methods that they use. Men tend to use methods that there's no going back from. And so, yes, there's more attempted suicides in women, but more completed suicides in men.
And I think it's a good time for us to kind of be able to explain that further, because I think in the public sphere, we say suicide as completed only. And it's important to understand that there is a differentiation that's made, and why we see more men completing. So let's talk about the situation of suicide, because we don't report it in the news, so people don't always know how often it happens and who's at risk.
You've got to be a bit careful about reporting as well. So because occasionally reporting suicide in the wrong way does see an uptick. And we have to look, and we have to recognize that people don't attempt suicide in order to die. They attempt suicide to try and alleviate the pain of living. And there is a difference. And one of the biggest indicators for a future suicide attempt is a past suicide attempt. And so the people who are most vulnerable are people who have already attempted suicide. And one of the problems is that we don't want to talk about it. And so sometimes we don't do what is necessary. We see someone in trouble, but we think if we ask them, that might encourage them. And in fact, no, you don't want to say to, hey, do you want to commit suicide? No, but you need to say, how are you feeling? Are you feeling unhappy? Is there anything that you need to do? Have you thought of harming yourself in it. And having that conversation doesn't encourage. It means that people can talk out their issues and maybe think, I'll give it one more try. So suicide is very, very complex, and there are so many reasons for it. But essentially it's not because people want to die, it's because the pain of living just becomes unbearable.
And in Belize, how serious is the problem?
Well, I'm not Ministry of Health, so I don't have the numbers. It's not, I mean, Belize is not a country with the highest suicide rate. It's like median level in terms of international norms. And it can be very serious. And as I said before, for every attempt and every completion, that one person, there's a ripple effect of all the other people, because also having a member of your family who has committed suicide also increases the likelihood that you will attempt suicide. So we do need to look at survivors, because the person who's gone, they've gone. Let's grieve for them, whatever, but they've gone. But there's 15 or 20 people who need our help, who need to be able to work through their feelings and get the help they need.
Yeah. And so you have conversations that take place, I think, around this time, where people start to say we need to pay attention to the signs of suicide. But what I hear from you is that it's beyond that. It's looking at mental health before there are signs of suicide. Yeah. What we're going to do right now actually is take a quick break, and when we come back we are going to continue to focus on mental health issues in Belize, some of the work that's taking place, and some of the activities that are coming up that you can participate in. So please stay tuned. We are back and we're continuing our conversation. Today is World Mental Health Day, and we are having a broad conversation about mental health in Belize, some of the issues and some of the ongoing programs to offer support. Once again, if you're just joining us, we're joined by two representatives of the Dementia Caregivers Support Group. We have Elizabeth Ross and Bridget Guzman. And we have from the Mental Health Association, Kathy Esquivel and Joyce Ellis of the Welcome Resource Center. Ladies, we were in the midst of the conversation talking about suicide, and that is the theme for this year's World Mental Health Day. But I find that when we talk about mental health in Belize, there's so many aspects. And in the break time, we were talking about some of the population that you serve, but even more importantly, some of the people that you employ. And you've taken on persons who are diagnosed with mental illness, on treatment, and fully functioning in your workplace. I want you to share that experience, Joyce, because I think that can do wonders for other people out there who want to work but are fearful or just can't get employed.
At present, at the center, we have an individual who is working. He is a diagnosed mental person, and he works with us. And for us, he is just like anyone else on staff. He has his DOR, he works with it. From time to time, we make checks on him, but he's been treated the same way we treat all the staff members.
Yeah.
No special treatment, and he functions well.
Yeah, yeah. Kathy, how important is it that we can have this kind of inclusive environment?
It's important, and like most important things, it's difficult. So as I said, you can't just tell employers you need to employ people. You have to find ways of helping them to employ people with special needs, either physical or emotional. And so I think that that's something that maybe needs a lot of input to decide what is the best way to go. And as usual, you don't have to invent the wheel. You can look outside and you can see what has worked. Now, what works in one place won't necessarily work in Belize, but you can maybe adapt it. So maybe that should be one of the next pushes that the Mental Health Association decides to advocate for. How can we help employers who want to help, but actually it would be more detrimental for them just to say, oh yeah, I'm going to employ this person, without knowing what special needs they need to, because then when it doesn't work out, they've been burnt once, they won't be burnt again. So yes, employers, we would like you to consider it, but let's work out how other outside forces can help you to do it in the best possible way. Because, you know, we've all heard about, well, especially in the States, they call it going postal. You have an employee who has tremendous emotional and mental health issues that you finally need to terminate because they're destroying the workplace, and they come back with a gun and shoot people. And I don't know why it seemed to be more in the postal service, but they actually call it going postal. So I'm not suggesting that that will happen. I'm just saying, when you are looking at these issues, you have to be holistic. I don't have the answers. I think we need to look for the answers.
Well, we need to discuss the issue, and that's a part of what it is. And we don't like talking about mental health issues.
Unless it's in a derogatory sense.
And my assumption is that the younger generation, because of their level of exposure, that they're perhaps more open to discussing issues around mental health. But they have to function in a society where, you know, employers teachers, school administration, they're not in the same place. So what are some of the moves that are being made, whether through the churches, the mental health association, some of the on-the-ground organizations, to get us more comfortable talking about mental health and mental health issues? Who wants to join in?
For us at the Resource Center, some of the things that we do, for example, with families, when we do our intake, we ask the participant about family, and they would say, yes, I do have family members, and we ask for contact number. Sometimes it's difficult because when you call them and you just call participant X name, oh, I don't want to hear about he or she, and things like that, but the person I am, I don't give up. I keep calling, oh, he's here today or she's here today.
Yeah.
And so eventually the individual would come around and they're like, I want to come, but I don't want to know that today, and I don't want people to know that he's my brother or my sister or father and things like that. So the awareness is important in terms of changing the mindset to have this conversation about mental illness. Now, in young people now, we have like 3 young persons at the center. They are more open. They are willing to talk about it. Whenever there is a function, could my mommy come? And I would say, yes, she could come. Yes, bring them along, because we want them to see them in their true element. And so with us at the center, we, although we are not the advocacy group, but we also aid in getting them realize that, you know what, you're not alone. This thing is not a taboo.
Yeah. Now, with the patients, with the participants at the center, those who do have a mental illness, you facilitate them with their care?
Yes, what we do, we usually chart when they get their medication.
Okay.
So if they get their medication, it's written down, and we ask the PNPs that once they give it, you just give them a little paper, cut off piece, write it. He has gotten his medication today. They bring it, they give it to us, and we put it on our calendar. And they will tell us, Miss, my medication due.
Yeah.
And then we could call, and either 2 things happen. They come and they pick them up, or the participant would go to where they could get the shots.
Because the Ministry of Health provides
yes,
that.
They provide
Absolutely.
that.
And we do work closely with Ministry of Health. But the Resource Center is not a medical center.
Yes.
It's social support. Because we think the Ministry of Health, given the constraints, the community mental health program, we think is very well planned. Not everything always goes as it should, but we really like that method. But it's no good just giving people medication if they don't have a hot meal. And so we're there to provide that social support that people need. The food, the hygiene, but also just the company.
And well, that's a good holistic approach, I suppose, that you do, because it also not only focuses on the individual who may be going through, but also includes the caregivers as well, because they're experiencing a lot on their own time, and it can be because, you know, they don't have access to a lot of these resources. So, you know, in that regard, do you find that in the work, perhaps that caregivers, in your experience, have been open to these types of programs and finding resources like this?
No. I think they're very hesitant. And I think one of the reasons is when you're caring for someone with dementia, you yourself are going through so many different emotional waves, and you think things that you don't really want to think, or you feel things that you feel bad about feeling. So they are uncomfortable to share that. And part of what the support group is going to do is to let them know it's okay to have those feelings, and you're going to have these feelings. Let us show you different ways to deal with these feelings instead of just trying to hide them. And when I keep saying that we provide a safe haven, we provide a place for them to come and express those feelings and open up, and then say, then talk amongst the group and say, well, I had that same feeling and this is what I did, or, and share and try to find a way to help them acclimate and understand it's okay to be mad, it's okay to be angry. What you do with those feelings is what's important. And so I think they've been very slow in coming out to share those things, but I'm hoping that, over the course of the next few months, we can show people that there is a safe haven and a place that you can come do this.
Yeah. So you started your support group last month, and it's
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. How has it been going so far in the people who've come out and how they've benefited from it?
It's interesting because we were a bit anxious. We were wondering if we would get people would come out, because on a whole in Belize, people don't like to talk about feelings.
Oh, yeah.
It is something that you always keep bottled up, and I can speak for myself from that perspective. But when the group started, we talked amongst ourselves, the core group met, and we said, you know what, if we have to, we're going, because we had a guest speaker. Well, like I said before, we facilitate. And so we wouldn't want our guest speaker to show up and then we don't have anybody there. And so Liz said, I'm going to bring my family. I said, I'm going to send my friends and the other. So we thought that we were going to end up with only family members. But it was good to see that. And it's not necessarily because it is founded through our parish. It's not only persons from the parish that came, which is good. It's a good start. And so our second week is today. And so we have tonight, this evening at 6 from 6 till 7, right? Yeah. And we have another, we're facilitating another group. We're going to talk about the family dynamics, how to deal with the family in such issues, because the caregiver needs to call in the family and get everybody involved. And so knowing how to do it in a loving way would make it easier for everybody to want to participate, every member of the family. And we're going to give information. The person is going to speak about how to do that, how to deal with that, how to have the people, the participants, address their feelings, their concerns, matters of their loved ones in a loving and practical way. And the support has been good so far.
Yeah. And, what you're trying to offer is giving caregivers an opportunity to understand the process that they're going to go through. And this is personal for both of you, right?
It is indeed. For myself, I do have a loved one, and that is why I sought help.
Yeah.
Because I was battling with, oh my, is this really real? Is this something that you wonder if, because there are good days and there are days that are not so good for the person. And so one day you talk with your loved one and they're in a good place, and another day it's like they're distant away from you.
Yeah.
And so it is hard because you begin to think to yourself, something is wrong. Is it me? Or is it something wrong with the loved one? And when the person becomes diagnosed, you realize, okay, it's an illness indeed. But then you battle inside yourself with feeling the loss of the person that you really, really love. And they're not performing, or they're not the same person that you knew before.
Yeah.
And so dealing with that in itself is hard.
Yeah.
And so seeking help. So for myself, I sought help. But it's not everybody who wants
Where
to
did
seek
you go
help.
for help?
I went for help with my parish priest.
Okay.
And so it was how this.
And that was the seed for this idea.
That was the seed for this idea.
Yeah. And Liz?
There was nothing when my husband was ill. My husband was ill for 10 years, and he died 5 years ago. So there was nothing, and no one talked about dementia, and no one knew about it, and it was just me, one alone. I had to train my own caregivers. I had to do all of this by myself. So I'm very passionate about the fact that I've been blessed with the ability to help show people that there's ways to do things, and there's ways to go through this, and there's a lot of wrong ways to go through it, and I can show them all the wrong ways because I found all the wrong ways. But it was, when my husband got ill in 2004, people just didn't even really know the word dementia, and we were living at Kickocker, and it was very different. So I came from when there was nothing, and now I see other avenues and I see other things coming up, and I'm excited and I'm encouraged, and I feel very honored to be able to maybe help other caregivers.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe one of the problems might be that caregivers actually don't have the time? You have to find someone to babysit, person sit, the person so do you think that can be an issue, that people just physically are constrained?
Yes, they are, and you know, particularly if there's not family members to help, or if there's family members that just won't help. And one of our speakers is going to be from a caregivers, a home health agency, that will talk about, you know, respite and bringing someone in, even if it's just for the day, because it's not cheap to have a full-time caregiver. It's really not cheap, and there's not facilities like abroad where you can, you know, take someone to a day center. You know, they don't have those kind of things. So hopefully we can find avenues together that will give them a little bit more time, because sometimes you just need to go get your hair done and go to the grocery store and just go sit in the parking lot and go, thank you, Jesus, I'm not by myself right now, you know? So, finding those things and finding that balance is really tough, particularly if you don't have family members that help.
Yeah. You know, as you talk about that story, I imagine a person who may just potentially be completely overwhelmed with providing care for a loved one, and such specialized care, and challenging in its own self. And I think these are the little things that we as a society can pay attention to. So if I have a family member who's perhaps overwhelmed with caring, you know, that's taking care of mental health. That's saying, okay, you need a break for you. And conversations like that just don't happen.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who is a caregiver for her husband, and when I go and visit, what she expresses is, oh, it's so good to have some adult conversation. You know, because there is another adult there, but not someone with whom she can have an adult conversation.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So your support group is, you have your meetings at, so people who are watching will know, at St. Martin's?
At St. Martin's in the parish office.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks. We have a Facebook page, so we've got our schedule posted on our Facebook page of the upcoming events and the different topics that we'll be talking about. We're running 9 sessions, and then at the end of those 9 sessions we'll reevaluate and decide if we're going to repeat those or if we're going to go to a whole new set of 9 sessions depending on our attendees.
Yeah.
So we're hoping this is going to be long term. And then I've had some other doctors talk with me about the possibility of us branching out across the country. But I said, let us get this going first. We have to get ourselves settled first here in the city. But they're looking down the road as a really positive thing. So that's exciting.
So we also want people to know that even though we say 9 sessions, it's not late for you to step in, because each session it's a new topic.
Okay.
And so you can always learn.
Yeah.
It's never too late to join us and to learn.
Okay. And the Facebook page, what do people look for?
It's Caregivers Journey Support Group.
All right. And moving over to MHA and some of the activities that you guys are having, do we want to start off with Joyce's pet project? Right?
The speech competition is first.
Okay.
And that's this afternoon.
Yeah.
And the topic is suicide triggers and strategies for prevention.
Yeah.
And I know that you have attended some of them, and the quality of the speeches is really outstanding. So it's 1 o'clock at the Bliss. We're starting, Ministry of Health is going to do a small opening for World Mental Health Day. and then we'll have the speech competition.
Who's participating? High school, tertiary?
High schools.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And we have some nice prizes. But anyone who would just like to come and hear these young people, it's really inspiring, and so it's open to anyone. That's 1 o'clock till about 3:30.
Yeah, and it's on the triggers of suicide.
Yes, and strategies for prevention.
Nice.
And so one student has the topic bullying, how bullying could be a suicide trigger, but what can you do about it? And another one is cyberbullying. So there's bullying, physical bullying, and cyberbullying. Another one is sexual orientation, how especially young people who are confused or unsure, or sure but feeling fearful, how that is a very serious trigger. And previous attempts, how previous attempts are a suicide trigger.
Yeah.
Because you've almost crossed the line once, so it's easier to cross the line again. So it's not a cheerful topic, but I think it's something that needs to be spoken about.
Yeah,
and so that is this afternoon. And then Joyce is going to talk about...
This is our second annual Night of Being Homeless. This year it seems that it will be bigger and better. Memorial Park at 6. T-shirts, we don't have any available, so we are all sold out with our T-shirts.
But you can't be sold out of space because Memorial Park is big.
We have space.
This is the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And for us, we chose to put a slogan.
You didn't give the date.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on Saturday night at 6, Memorial Park. 2 things we ask, that when you come and you're leaving, you leave with your box, because we don't want to have to be cleaning up after anyone. So let's do it right.
Yeah.
You got the box free, you could leave with it.
Yeah.
Also, we will have Omashanti there at 8 to do yoga with us. So come out, let's do some relaxing sessions before we actually go to sleep. And besides not having any more T-shirts, you could pay your $10, and there is always a space for everyone.
Yeah. What's the purpose behind the event?
The purpose behind the event is, 1, is to raise awareness.
Yeah.
And 2, it's a fundraiser, because we have to find ways to help keep our doors open. And this is something that I thought about like several years before I actually put it to the board. And so far it has been successful.
Yeah.
And so it's something that we want to keep doing annually.
Yeah.
And we also want the persons who participate to walk away with appreciation for what they have.
Yeah.
And think about the mentally challenged person who sleeps outside, who doesn't have access to the restrooms, the security, and all the amenities that we have at home.
Even the blanket that you might take out
plus the knowledge that you have a home to go back to.
Right. Yeah. And then last year you had, did people come out? What was it like?
Last year we had 110 persons who came out. This year we are looking forward to see beyond 110. And we have people who started it out and they got up and they went because they couldn't do it. Some are because of health issues. Some are just because that, you know what, there was a little drizzle that came down. And when I look around, I saw people going with their boxes. But I mean, they stayed until a little drizzle came down. And so
we have one school that's having their own Sleep It Out, Belize High School. And so, because we had suggested to schools that they could do that, so they're going to have it on their own campus.
At their school.
At their school. And of course, still give us the proceeds. So we encourage other schools for next year to organize the same kind of thing, because it's still supporting the idea, but not maybe a student wants to do it, but they can't go out by themselves.
Yeah. It's a more controlled environment for children.
So it's a controlled environment for children. So this year we do have one school that's taken us up on it, and next year we're hoping more schools will do that. And of course that can be countrywide, because homelessness is not just in Belize City.
Yeah.
And also we're appealing to the businesses who have boxes. We're still in need of boxes, so you could come, drop them off at the center.
Or just phone us and we can pick them up.
Carna Vernon and to Bruce, 202-2511, call us. We have some boxes, we'll get them and take them over to the center.
So you just show up to sleep at the Memorial Park?
You show up to sleep, you register, you pay your $10 to sleep.
But while it's in solidarity with the homeless, you will provide some amenities like security and bathrooms.
And bathrooms. This year we have almost 12 police officers who they bought shirts, the department bought shirts for them. We will also have some customs officers out there, they bought shirts also. And other individuals who bought their shirts and said that they probably won't sleep, they will just sit up and look at everything. And we have media houses who said that they will be out there throughout the night. So.
Awesome. All right, so that takes place this Saturday night.
This Saturday.
In
so
Belize
you have
City.
Plenty of time to recover because Monday's a holiday.
All right, and of course the proceeds go towards the Welcome Resource Center.
And I must say, Marlene, when we started off, originally the center, it was only a hot meal and lunch. Now today we are at breakfast every day. You get your hot meal, and on Friday you get a package to go for the weekend. So
because you're not open on the weekend.
Because we're not open on the weekend, but it's only through these initiatives that we will be able to do more.
Nice. All right. Great.
And then the last event is the banquet.
Which is your signature event.
Annual banquet, and as I said earlier, the Michael Young family are our patrons. And this year we're going to have it at Caribbean Motors, the pretty glass building on the Northern Highway. And we have Chef Quilin, who is going to provide the food. And I think everyone knows that that's going to be good. We have Kenny G and the New Creation. We're selling tickets. I have some now. And it's $100. And although we're going to be sharing some of these difficult moments, it's also a time to get together and be thankful for what we have and be joyful, because we have to be joyful in life, in what we have. And so one of the things we do, it's Mental Health Association, but the funds are to support the Welcome Resource Center. And one of the things we always do is we have a table of people who come from Palm Center, and we have another table of participants and staff of the Welcome Resource Center. And a couple of years ago, someone said to Joyce, I thought they said that they were going to have people from Palm Center here. When are they? They're sitting at that table. You know, they don't have horns. They're not throwing food around.
They're not having
They're people. They love having an opportunity, and so this is part of the inclusion that we try to we try to promote.
And using your sales pitch, Miss Kathy, if you can't make it, you could always pay for a participant to go?
Absolutely, yes. And even if you can't pay the whole amount, you could pay half, and then someone else pays half. So yes, please. And if you have anything else, you can donate. And then the last thing, which is not really part of mental health, activities.
Yes, because you should be proud.
And I think that Kubola is making arrangements, but I've been laboring on a novel for more years than I like to think about. And I got it finished, and I actually got it edited 3, 4, 5 times. And Kubola is publishing it, and we're going to have the launch on the 22nd. Why it's relevant is because the major character is someone who has schizophrenia, but it's really how he is at the center of all kinds of other things that happen, and his illness and the connections people make because of him. And of course, proceeds, which you probably know, there's often not that much proceeds, but the proceeds are for the Wellcome Resource Center. But we can discuss that at another time.
Excellent.
And on a lighter note, Marlene, Friday is our Fun Friday. So we have Titans coming in at the Resource Center on Friday.
Oh, wow.
To do carnival and have fun with the participant at the center. That is also in aid of World Mental Health Day. But they couldn't do it today because we have all this activities, so we asked them to do it on our Fun Friday, so
Which is tomorrow.
which is tomorrow.
And people can always go volunteer, take clothing,
Yep.
take food.
Clothing, food, just volunteer to sit with our participant. They could hear different perspective and who knows, become their employer.
All right, great. Well, thank you all for being a part of the conversation this morning. We do appreciate it, and best of luck with all your individual initiatives.
Thank you too.
Thank you too.
We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be getting the details of Japan Days. Please stay tuned. we're back and we're moving into our second conversation for today as we get all the details about Japan Day 2019. We have with us on set Asako Solis, who is on the executive of the Japanese Association of Belize, and Leon Guild of the Red Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, so let's just start talking about, there's a new association, I believe, Asako. You have the Japanese Association of Belize?
Yes, we have been a while, which is 11th Japan Day this year.
Yeah. Yeah, you've had Japan Day for a while, but the association, who's involved with the association?
Association, since I came like 15 years now, and then it's already like a community or grown up.
Nice.
So, yes.
Do we have a lot of people from Japan living in Belize?
Not much, about 15 families. Besides the JICA volunteer, Japan Overseas Cooperation volunteer, will be becoming 20 years celebrating next year.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. And what's in store for this year's Japan Day?
Yes, we have 3 Japanese restaurants, Taka-san, Taka Kitchen, also Joto from the San Pedro. They are representing ramen booth this year. Also Mama Chen. We have origami booth as usual.
Yeah.
We have little like a craft like this. This is for you.
Nice, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have yukata experience, like JICA volunteer, like this Japanese traditional clothes. They can put on it and take a picture. Anime booth and comic experience. There's many Belizean preparing some comics and anime for this day. Yes, we have also some comedy show. This is something new. We have a JICA volunteer who live in the Orange Walk called Goku, or sometimes he become a Super Mario to some like a some show, and then he will wear this. Actually, 2 men go inside of these clothes, and then 1 man put on the face here, 1 man go inside, and then something hand is different act. So
that's going to be entertaining.
Yes, that's entertaining. We can see that it's at 12 o'clock. And then we have a Parotti Music Orchestra. We collaborated together and performing some Japanese music. I play piano, and they call like a Japanese salsa. So we practiced couple, and then it became very nicely.
Yeah. And Louis, tell us about your involvement. Leon, sorry.
Well, every year, martial arts predominantly comes from Japan. So normally I showcase some of my skills. My students. This time is going to be my students. And it's big for us because, the JICA organization has been very involved with martial arts in Belize. We just had Sensei Tero for 2 years doing judo in Belize, and he went back this year. We're getting another one. His replacement is coming next month, either next month or in March, to help us with judo, because we don't have any judo black belts in Belize to continue promoting the sport and doing ranking. So that's important. So they're here to help us grow, to establish a ranking system, and just make it possible for us to continue growing the sport on our own once they leave. We're not dependent on international support anymore. Right? At least administrationally. And also, next year karate is going to be in the Olympics for the first time. It's not an Olympic sport, but it's still a big deal for us because since Japan is the hosting country, they're hosting under these circumstances. Like they say, we're going to host if we can showcase karate. So it's a rave around the world right now. Every karate practitioner around the world is hoping to get a spot, just to go and to be there.
So if it's not competitive, then how would you be selected?
Yes, it is competitive. As a sport, it's not recognized by the Olympics as yet. Officially, it's not an official Olympic sport. It's just recognized. So Yeah, so that's a big deal for us. And I don't have permission to speak on the authority of the Federation, but I heard that we may also be getting a Japanese volunteer to help with karate in Belize as well.
Oh, that would be great.
Right, so
that
one
would
for
be
judo,
great.
one for karate.
Yeah. You know, Japan Day is such an awesome opportunity for people to understand and appreciate the culture. There are quite a few things that we already enjoy, karate being one, sushi we all love, origami, and definitely a growing population and fascination with anime. Yeah? Are you ever surprised by how much there is an uptake of these things from Japanese culture in Belize?
Yes, I was so surprised. This event started at the Stella Maris School as a very small scale. Now it's last year, the 1,000 people that show up and with some anime. We got a contest, and so we had. And this time, the first time, we could get a king's room, the princess. That is more like much bigger than that queen room like it used to be.
Nice.
Yes, and it's full.
And what do you think, or what do you find is the most popular thing that people come out to see? Is it the anime?
Yeah. This is like a collaborative event, Embassy and JICA, Japanese community, and Animaniacs. These are like a Belizean, but it's organized like a 600 of people member like online, and then this is like an offline event that they can show.
600?
Yes, it's maybe more.
Okay.
So yes, these people even like come from Mexico. They see the news that we have a Japanese event, so from Mexico or Chetumal that they are coming for this event.
And it's for the event, but there's also cosplay involved.
Yes, exactly.
Can you please explain, because not everybody knows, and what is cosplay?
Okay, I think it's a Japanese more pop culture. Like recently, people watch anime and then costume, just like their favorite character.
Yeah.
So sometimes the hair have to be dyed and some clothes have to be sewn, but it's like getting a really art because they have to make a scratch to,
Even I'm dressing up this year.
Really? As a sensei?
No. I have a favorite character too. I'm a fan of anime as well.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be a fan of anime when you train martial arts.
Why? But, I mean, can you explain to us? Because we've had some of the Animaniacs on the show before. I mean, I have to confess, I've never watched anime, but I know there's a big appeal. What about it is so engaging?
Well, like I said, I'm a martial arts fanatic, so I like those ones. But I have seen some anime that have no action in it, but the story is very good.
Yeah.
You know, it's just I think it's for the most part we see American TV.
Yeah.
So it's like a peek for us into, there are other cultures out there who are doing big things that we may not know about, but we may find interesting. And I think just when you're watching anime, just the vast array of characters, some character is going to connect with you, or you're going to connect with some character. And and then once that happens, once you get hooked on one, then there are different things that start coming. But just some of these stories are very good, just really good, just unbelievable. Even Netflix is getting in on it now. Netflix is featuring anime as well, so it's really taking the world by storm.
And the dressing up, it's very common with the anime fans, right?
Yeah, I think it's an expression.
Yeah.
For me, it's an expression. I have a character. I don't want to give it away who it is.
I was going to ask you.
I'm not going to say who it is.
Are we going to be able to recognize you?
I hope not. Right? So it's I like my character because it's an African descent person in a high position in the Japanese community, and he's well recognized. So it's a Rastaman actually.
Well, you probably just gave it away.
Maybe I said, but there are thousands of anime out there, so we don't know. Some of my students know because I told them, and they're hoping to see, but it's going to be a little bit extreme for me.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the other elements? Because I think seeing costume competitions will naturally attract people. Getting to put on the kimono is also a great opportunity. Going for food, definitely. But you also have the embassy on display. You have some of the traditional arts like the calligraphy. You know, what are some of the things that you try to make sure whoever goes there that they walk away knowing about Japan or Japanese culture?
Okay. So main thing is some culture, like this art and craft with like a free cost experience. Also some yo-yo. We have some Japanese toy.
Okay.
Yes, and Japanese snacks. So every things they can see is actually we can see in Japan at the festival. We have a mini booth, everybody get together and then like feel the spirits, how Japanese serve. Yes, we have a fortune telling paper too.
Also, for a martial arts school, we're very diverse, and so we're also trying to promote this. This is a herb, actually. It's a healing remedy.
Haritaki.
Right, and something people do not know about me is that I've always been into natural remedies and healing, both physiologically and psychologically. So this remedy has been taking Asia by storm. Actually, it comes from a system called Ayurveda, which is actually the oldest organized system of medicine on the planet from 3,500 BCE. So Moringa is good. I was researching Moringa when I stumbled on this, but this is actually called the king of herbs. And so it falls under the concept of one remedy for all diseases. And we've been experimenting with it here in Belize since last year in July, and just tremendous effects. So we're trying to create more awareness about it here in Belize, and just get people to. We have some there. We have some on display as well.
Okay.
For people who would like to purchase it there.
Yeah.
But
it's a seed. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
It's a fruit. It's a fruit. You dry it and then you make it into a powder. There's no processing.
Okay.
And there's no there's nothing added, so it's completely natural.
Okay. Okay.
I would like to also make awareness of sargassum fertilizer. This our new federation, Expressive Art Center. We collected the sargassum from the sea and then dry it and then completely harden and grind it and change it to the fertilizer. So we will also exhibit this one to the public first time.
Oh wow! Yes. Yeah, that's a great initiative.
Thank you so much, but it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of challenge, but we are just getting the first bunch of sacks that's getting ready. Yes, yeah.
And I see one thing on the list of activities, J-pop. What's that? Because it does feature, or KTV, the remix participant, Stephanie Darker.
Yes.
So we want to understand that.
Yeah, like usually we are just one category of just a stage performance. But this year, we have a section of the traditional Japanese song.
Yes.
And then like J-pop is a more like a recent culture. So I think Michael will sing that's a recent Japanese singers one. Then we go to the ensemble. We have a comedy show after that, and then ensemble. This is really first time with really orchestra get together and then play Japanese music. Yeah. So we have by time we have.
So you get the full Japanese experience.
Yes.
You get to see the food, music, and anime, all sorts of different things. You get to see a taste if you do come out.
Yes, and you can buy and then take it to some souvenir home.
Wow.
Nice. All right. So what's the details of the event? When does it take place?
Okay, this is Saturday, 12 October 2019. This Saturday, start at 10 o'clock. And then close 3 o'clock at Ramada King's Room Princess.
Okay, is there a cost to going in?
No, this is a totally free admission sponsored by Embassy of Japan and then collaborative with JICA, Japanese community, and Animaniacs.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in and giving us the details.
I'm about to say, should we say what? Arigato gozaimasu.
Yes. Arigato gozaimasu. Yes, thank you very much.
And we will see you on Saturday at Japan Day at the Princess Hotel in the King's Room, starting at 10 a.m. and there are going to be lots of food displays, lots of cultural displays.
Because of the people's, we usually food sell out really early time. So please come to early. And then like afternoon, that's we have a cosplay and anime contest.
Lynn, we're looking forward to seeing that costume as well. All right, we're going to go ahead and take that final break now. When we come back, we'll have our wrap up, so stay tuned. And we're back.
Yeah, that was another great show today.
Yes. Talking about mental health.
Yeah, that's a super important conversation. Maybe it doesn't get enough attention, but nowadays there's an increase of awareness and an increase in people like having the conversations, which is really, really important.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think, you know, the theme for today is such an important one, focusing on suicide. It's not an easy conversation to have with anyone that you know is suffering. If they're thinking of harming themselves, just how deep their negative thoughts are. But what I think what we need to do is kind of just be more attentive to other people. And when you see that they're struggling in any way, because we all get difficult times that we have to try to push through. Some of us can do it over time, and some of us just struggle a bit more. But if we're more attentive to what other people are going through and offer them resources or point them in the direction of where they can get help, we can really have a much better, I guess, compassionate society and people who take better care of their mental health. and there's no stigma associated with it. You can go to a therapist one time, you can go to a therapist multiple times. You may take medication for a short time, you may take medication long term. You know, if you have diabetes or if you have hypertension, you know, these are just things you learn to live with, and it's no different with some forms of mental illness.
Yeah, and I think that Miss Kathy made the point that, you know, regardless of if it's a diagnosed mental illness, whether it's a struggle due to age or dementia or Alzheimer's, what makes a huge difference is the maintaining those human connections, making sure that people are integrated in society, making sure that people are aware that there is access to resources and help. You know, once everybody, you know, sort of comes together, then it lessens the burden on the individual. And that can go to the person who is suffering with the condition and also the caregiver.
Yeah, all right. And so we want to remind people of several of the initiatives that they spoke of this morning. One, the Caregivers Journey support group they started 2 weeks ago. And they have another session tonight. Just go ahead and drop in. It's at St. Martin's Parish. And you can go get some tips and information on how to take care of your loved one who has dementia. And most importantly, take care of your own health and mental health. And then today, there's a speech competition at the Bliss this afternoon, and that's by the Mental Health Association. That's going to be focusing on several different issues that may affect mental health.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's also this weekend's Homeless for a Night initiative that they're doing. This is the second annual one, and they're expecting a big turnout. Yeah. That should be an extremely unique experience, and I think from what our guests were saying, that, you know, a lot of people who even started last year, they didn't complete, and that shows you how difficult it is. So imagine somebody who has to live with that for the day, from day to day. Yeah. So putting yourself in somebody else's shoes for one night can be really eye-opening. So, you know, we encourage everybody to go out and support that initiative if you can.
Absolutely. And do remember, it's also a fundraiser. So, you know, you're going, and it's not just a unique experience. You're contributing towards ensuring that the people who may have to sleep outdoors are still able to access daytime services at the Welcome Resource Center. And then there is the banquet. The banquet takes place on the 26th of October. It's going to be here in Belize City at Caribbean Motors. The tickets are $100 each. It is a great opportunity to go out and have a great night out, show your support for the Mental Health Association and the work that they do, and you know, I think also be able to know that you have done your part. Yeah. If you can't go out, you can always purchase a ticket for one of the participants to go as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
All right. So we're going to go ahead, and then also on Saturday
is Japan Day 2019. You know, this is now the 11th one. This one is going to be bigger and better than ever, so it sounds like. There's going to be, you know, food, anime, costumes, music, all different ways that we can enjoy and get probably exposed for the first time to all these vibrant aspects of Japanese culture.
Yeah. Are you an anime fan?
You know, I used to be. I was a big Dragon Ball Z fan, you know, growing up, so for sure.
So maybe you can do some cosplay this weekend.
You might see me in my Goku costume.
No, but it is big, you know, and I'll be very honest in how naive I was as to how many people were interested in anime and very excited about cosplay. And we've seen it more and more each year when they have Japan Day. So it's going to be a great event. And even if you're not going to dress up, go on out. You can get dressed up there. You can put on a kimono. You can learn some calligraphy. You can eat some sushi. You can see some great entertainment. What's important, I think, behind this event is the appreciation of different cultures. And that is always a great opportunity for you individually and for the rest of your family that you take out as well. So that event takes place on Saturday as well. And it starts at 9:30 in the morning and it goes through, I think, until the evening. So just stop in for a bit and take in the Japanese experience. But that's all the time we have for today. Remember, if you want to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. Drop me a line at marlene_owe@channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BC and on Instagram
at OYE.
Belize. Good. But remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your heart
open. We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together